Marquee D.
Hulk Hogan is often accused of causing the downfall of TNA wrestling. Before his on-screen arrival in January 2010, TNA was averaging 2 million viewers and was clearly the second biggest wrestling company behind the WWE. The product was hot and overseas tours were killing it. TNA is still surviving and putting on great wrestling matches, but they've clearly had to make a lot of financial cuts to keep the show on the air, and the show's on a bad TV network, so not many people get to see it anymore. Hogan was brought into TNA to bring more eyes to the show and also work out sponsorship and get better advertisement for TNA. He was basically viewed as a way to help TNA get to the next level. It's also worth noting to this video that Hogan was earning around $2 million a year for his 3-year stint in TNA. Hogan's period in TNA is surrounded in controversy, and a lot of die-hard TNA fans hated Hulk Hogan's TNA era. Personally, I love it. The most crazy backstage stories, matches and gimmicks happened during this time run, so he gives me a lot to work with. It can't be denied that a lot of money was then wasted on Hogan and Bischoff, his friends and his decisions involving TNA. So I'm going to rank them in this video, the top 10 worst decisions made during Hulk Hogan's TNA run. Don't forget to subscribe for more TNA wrestling content and click the link for my last video on the 8 greatest TNA tag teams of all time. Number 10, Brooke Hogan. Hogan decides to bring his stupid, talentless daughter into TNA. For those who had not watched Hogan Knows Best before, you may not have known what Brooke Hogan even looked like. TNA promoted Brooke Hogan's debut by showing a completely photoshopped image of her, making her look much better than she actually did. When she turned up on TV, viewers were in complete shock. Not only was she completely talentless, but she also was bad to look at. She was put in charge of the TNA Knockouts division, but after a while this seems to fade away without explanation. Her biggest storyline in TNA was undoubtedly when she married Bully Ray, despite Hulk Hogan's best interest. This turned out to just be a ploy by Bully Ray as he strived to get in her dad's good book so he would name him the #1 contender for the world title. He was secretly the leader of the Aces and this was all revealed shortly after. Fans expected Brooke Hogan to be in cahoots and join Bully Ray in the Aces, but she didn't. Bully revealed he had actually been seeing the much hotter Brooke Tessmacher behind her back. After a quick on-screen divorce was revealed, she would leave the company. Her main highlight in the company was just that time she fell over on live TV, making herself look completely stupid. Number 9, ABYSS-A-MANIA. A month after arriving in TNA, Hogan would start one of the most irritating storylines in TNA where he took the monster Abyss under his wing. He gave him his Hall of Fame ring and told interviewers that Abyss would be the next John Cena. Fans absolutely hated this angle, as it was basically just Abyss constantly telling everyone how great Hogan is, and Abyss was obsessed with Hogan's stupid ring. Click the card on the screen and watch my video on bad TNA gimmicks. Hogan and Bischoff brought in a ranking system where fans would be able to vote for their #1 contender for the heavyweight title. Abyss finished dead last in the polls and Hogan was upset and threw a tantrum. Fans didn't like his chosen one. The whole storyline ate up way too much screen time and neither wrestler was really suited to the role they were being asked to play. I'm not sure why Hogan was so obsessed with Abyss, for God's sake. People tuned out because it was boring and dumb. This leads me on nicely to my next bad decision. Number 8, ignoring Desmond Wolfe. Desmond Wolfe had recently come over from ROH to much hype and fans were genuinely excited that a wrestler of his calibre had just joined TNA. He joined a couple of months before Hogan's arrival and was inserted into a high-profile feud with Kurt Angle. He had one of my favourite matches of all time, a 3 Degrees of Pain in a Cage match at Final Resolution 2009, and although he lost the match, he still came out looking great. Then Hogan turned up and things went south quickly. In the previously mentioned fan poll, Wolfe beat the likes of Jeff Hardy and Sting in fan popularity, but that didn't mean a thing to Hulk Hogan. Hulk didn't care what the fans thought and punished Wolfe for his popularity. He did receive his world title shot, but he was defeated in 3 minutes by AJ Styles. Wolfe won the fan poll the next month as well, but Hogan made the rule that you're not allowed to win the poll 2 months in a row. Wolfe wanted to join Ric Flair's new stable Fortune. It was basically the 4 Horsemen, but Wolfe was rejected from the group and made to look like an idiot as he went on a losing streak. He formed a short-lived tag team with future world champion Magnus, but then disappeared for 4 months. He was recovering from hepatitis B. He did return to TNA after being made an on-screen commissioner and a commentator for Explosion. He then left TNA shortly after. Contrary to belief, Wolfe chose to retire as he felt WWE weren't going to hire someone as old as him. And number 7, The Old Man Show. See what I did there? It's a flawless transition. That is why I am the main character. Did any of you ever tune into TNA in 2010 and just see grey hair flapping about everywhere, people limping and barely being able to walk? Seriously, in the ring at one time you could have had Flair, Bischoff, Hogan, Foley and all the outsiders, all just kind of creeping around, barely being able to move. They all ate up so much screen time, I felt like I was watching the Antiques Roadshow. Not very enticing to a new viewer to see 2 hours of old men screaming and sweating in the ring. TNA had a great young roster hidden away, but they were forced to take a back seat to these guys. I mean seriously, on the 4th episode of the Monday Night War between TNA and WWE, Ric Flair turned up on the show in a wheelchair being lowered down from a mobility bus with helpers. Not a very good first impression, TNA. Number 6, Four Sides. One of the things that made TNA Wrestling stand out was its use of a 6-sided ring rather than a traditional 4-sided ring. This alone might not sound like a big deal. However, since 2010, TNA started a bad identity crisis. It didn't know what it wanted to be, and switching to the 4-sided ring made it feel like WWE light. The 6 sides was its identity and made you think about the fast-paced athletic contests in a company that's trying to be different. As Hogan introduced the 4-sided ring, fans booed and chanted for 6 sides. Hogan threw the company past under the bus and said 6-side only got them so far. He said he was changing it whether they liked it or not. Yet another mistake of Hogan going against what the fans wanted. Number 5, Bad Hirings. TNA wasted so much money at the start of Hogan's spell. He hired so many washed up has-beens it felt like a retirement home for wrestling. On the first show we got the Nasty Boys, Jimmy Hart, Orlando Jordan, Val Venus, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Bubba the Love Sponge right off the bat. They all immediately ate up screen time despite no one wanting to see them. Val Venus beating Christopher Daniels was a particular sore moment. The hirings did calm down, but there would always be WWE failures arriving and other friends of Hogan, despite whether they warranted a place on the show or not. Garrett and Wes Briscoe were particularly bad. He also gave a job to his daughter. Rob Van Dam was an okay hiring, but let's be honest, he was past his prime and immediately he took the title off AJ Styles. More proof that Hogan had no respect for the TNA roster and didn't care that AJ was the face of TNA. Number 4, not pushing AJ Styles. AJ was an uncrowned face of TNA for 8 years before Hogan's arrival. People can argue whatever they want. He is, and if you still ask someone about TNA, he's probably the first name they would associate with the company. Styles was the world champion when Hogan arrived, but when RVD arrived he would soon lose the title to him in April of that year. Styles was paired up with Ric Flair as they tried to convert him into the second coming of the Nature Boy. He was also involved in faction warfare and also the Claire Lynch storyline. He was basically pushed into the background during Hogan's whole reign. After losing the title in 2010, Styles would not hold the world title again until October 2013. Funnily enough, just a couple of weeks after Hogan left TNA. Coincidence? Number 3, making Dixie beg. Hogan's time was up and he was ready to leave TNA in October 2013. Hogan and Dixie already had a strained on-screen relationship during Hogan's run, dating back to 2010, when he tricked Dixie into signing the company over to his ownership. This made her look like a complete moron, but it's a different moment I'm focusing on. The moment in 2013 when Hogan's era ended. In an on-screen segment during Dixie Carter's heel run in Dixieland, Dixie approached Hogan with an offer to join her and run TNA together. Why would she want to run TNA with Hogan? He already tried to con her out the company. She gave Hogan an expensive watch which could have probably paid a couple of wrestlers for the month, and then Hogan rejected her saying, "I quit, and I won't join you." As he walked from the ring, Dixie fell to her knees clinging to his leg and begging him not to leave. Way to make the owner of the company look professional. Dixie looked completely pathetic live on TV, and in typical Hulk Hogan fashion he left the company without pushing anyone over. This must have been his idea, as I have no idea why she agreed to go along with it in the first place, but it made her company look stupid. Number 2, not advertising. You can have the greatest show in the world, but if no one knows it's there, then there's no point. As Hogan's run in TNA went on, the advertisement of the product got worse and worse. Hogan was supposed to bring eyes to the product, but I guess the combined wages of Hogan and Bischoff must have come out of the advertising fund because nothing was promoted. House shows would draw 50 people and TV ratings dipped lower and lower. This was never a problem before Hogan's arrival. Things seemed quite the opposite. RVD has since said that fans would approach him in the street and asked him if he'd retired from wrestling during his TNA run, as they had no idea that the show existed. There were no billboards, no mass radio adverts for when a show was in town, and Hogan barely even mentioned TNA in the interviews after 2010. They were paying all this money for these big names, but no one was paying any money to see TNA. TNA might have had a better chance of succeeding if they put some effort in and got their name out there, which is what Hogan was meant to be doing in the first place. Number 1, Monday Night Wars. Hogan and Bischoff pushed TNA to move to Monday nights to compete with Raw. They trialled it on Hogan's debut in January 2010, and the show was a rating success with record viewership. It reached almost 3 million viewers during Hogan's segment. Spike TV were happy with this despite losing to Raw, who had brought back Bret Hart for the night to counteract what TNA was doing. On a side note, that proves WWE will still put some effort in if they have some goddamn competition. Anyway, following the permanent move to Mondays for TNA, it was a complete disaster. They got slaughtered in the ratings for the next 9 weeks, getting worse ratings than their normal Thursday time slot, back to what they were getting in 2006. The cost of taking TNA on the road and being live was destroying them financially, and they just weren't getting the TV ratings or sponsorship money needed to cover them. To make things worse, a lot of the shows had poor attendance as they hadn't been promoted properly. The whole experiment failed and TNA soon gave up on the whole idea. Do you think we'll ever see another Monday Night War? Comment in the section down below and let me know. Look, I'm not blaming Hulk Hogan for the situation TNA is in today, but I do think he did play a part in it. It's not his fault TNA gave him $2 million to join them, but the whole thing was badly managed and TNA didn't know how to get the best return from Hulk Hogan. TNA should have been left to keep growing organically, but DIXIE Carter kept forcing the company to artificially accelerate their popularity without the proper backing. Under the right management, Hogan could have succeeded in bringing in viewers, but ultimately he tried to change too much at once, without considering the fans or the financial consequences, and that is why his TNA run is considered a major factor in the current decline of the company. Did you agree with my views in this video? Leave a comment in the section down below, and don't forget, I'm the one who tells you, I'm the one who gets you to subscribe. I am the main character and thanks for watching.